Wow. It's time to do this giant, massive board again.
Man, these boards get bigger every single year.
We are predicting the entire 2024 NFL season.
Fired up for this season. If the Chiefs three-peat, I'll cry.
All of our predictions are going to come true like every single year that we do this.
The Los Angeles Chargers, Justin Herbert. Here we go. I'm kind of all in on the Chargers this year.
Sticking the Broncos there.
The Denver Broncos snag that 7 seed.
It's the Carolina Panthers. This is a wild pick, but you know what? Sometimes there are just going to be wild teams that make the playoffs.
I got a team moving up to the 2nd seed in one of the most loaded conferences in football, and I think that'll be a big part to Trevor Lawrence.
I can't really remember what I did last season. I'm sure I embarrassed myself with a couple of picks.
Every year, I always get things wrong, but this is where it all changes because I've done a lot of scouting in the offseason, so save this video for when the season's over so you can see how right I was. All right, let's get into it.
We'll start in the AFC. Very, very easy.
You'd be wrong to think that the Kansas City Chiefs are just not going to make a push this year and not do what they've been doing for the last, what seems like decade.
When you have Patrick Mahomes, I know they didn't look great in the regular season last year. You can't doubt these guys.
I'm gonna start it off with a little bit of a hot take here because I think the Bengals in particular didn't get a fair shake with Joe Burrow going down.
I feel like a lot of people are still sleeping on the Bengals because, I mean, they were incredibly underwhelming last year, and we remember Joe Burrow throwing some wobbly passes, but I think they bounced back in a massive way.
As much as this pains me to say, out of all of the really good teams, the Bengals have by far the easiest schedule. So I think the Bengals will take advantage of that weak schedule and be able to pull off the 1 seed.
Number 1 seed, Baltimore Ravens. I think Baltimore is going to have another incredible season led by Lamar Jackson. They've got Derrick Henry in the backfield now. That is going to be electric to watch because how do you stop Lamar and Derrick Henry? I don't know.
Number 2 in the AFC.
We got to be boring. They're back-to-back, going for 3 in a row.
I just think that division is so weak.
I'm going to keep going back to this well until they prove that it's not smart to go back to this well. It's inevitable. Patrick Mahomes is Thanos.
All that for a drop of blood.
You know, everyone talks about Mahomes. This defense last year was one of the main reasons that they put together a massive Super Bowl run.
We're living in the Brady era, but it's just Mahomes, who somehow is on like the best QB contract in the NFL at this point.
Number 2, we're going with the Miami Dolphins. I just think this is such a high-powered offense. I think Tua and Tyreek are going to be even better than they were last year. The pathway to win the AFC East for the first time since I was about 7 years old exists in South Florida.
Now this is kind of where the hot takes continue, I guess, because I think that CJ Stroud, Coleridge Bernard Stroud, along with Tank Dell, Nico Collins, and the very not youthful Stephon Diggs, is a super-powered offense that can get it done.
A lot of people are going to have them at number 2, and I think it's pretty obvious. They have Derrick Henry now with the reigning MVP. So again, another easy pick with the Ravens, which I'm hoping they can take down the Chiefs because I would like to see Lamar get one.
Number 3. I think we're going to see a big season from Josh Allen.
I have faith in the Buffalo Bills, as you'll see with one of my later picks that will show my faith. So I'm going to go them as the 3 seed.
I don't know if I want to go with the Bills and be boring, but I think I'm going to have no choice and give them one last year.
We saw down the stretch the Bills kind of go away from Stephon Diggs and actually just run their offense through Josh Allen, and he looked significantly better.
People are looking at him without Stephon Diggs now and him just putting this team on his back and putting up insane numbers and leading them to some really, really great moments.
Letting Josh Allen ball is going to be the best thing for this team.
I'm going to mix things up a little bit. I think the Jets can potentially win the AFC East. They were a pretty solid team last year with really bad quarterback play. And now they should have Aaron Rodgers for a full season. This defense is top 5 in the league. This team is good enough, mainly on the defensive side of the ball, to get them to win the division.
Number 3, we're going to go with a team from the AFC North, and that's the Cincinnati Bengals. I think in a division like this, it's so tough to repeat that I'm going to go with a different team. It feels like this is Joe Burrow's year.
At some point, I had to put them on the board, of course, because I just think that they're the clear favorite in the AFC West. I think that the Kansas City Chiefs, they're just going to continue rolling into the playoffs, they'll probably make it to the AFC Championship, and they might even win a Super Bowl.
All right, number 4, this has just been the AFC South slot in the AFC for some time now.
No shade to the Texans. They're a great team. CJ Stroud's a baller.
CJ Stroud was lights out last year.
And now they've added more pieces to this offense with Joe Mixon, with Stephon Diggs. This team is going to be good for a long time to come, and they're going to be the 4th seed in the AFC.
The one thing I'll say about this division, it is not as cut and dry as people think. I think the Indianapolis Colts are going to be a very good team next year.
4 seed's going to be the toughest. And honestly, I'm going to go the team that pushed that Texans team. That's the Indianapolis Colts. This is the first full year of Anthony Richardson, and we got 4 games of him, and he was electric. So I am just banking on Anthony Richardson having an impact like CJ Stroud did, and the rest of this team rounding into form.
I think it's going to be a close battle actually between the Bills and the Dolphins, but I think this year, I think the Dolphins just get the edge. Their running game is so electric.
Let's switch them out. Honestly, I'm gonna go. Let's go 3 and 4, just because I don't love the AFC East.
Now it gets interesting with the wildcard teams.
Let's go to the team that'll have probably the 3rd or 4th best record in the AFC, but unfortunately has to take the 5th seed.
You have to have Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. The Baltimore Ravens, the reigning MVP, they are still going to be very, very good.
The Ravens will be back in the playoffs. There's no doubt about it.
Lamar Jackson coming off an MVP season. I think that the Ravens are going to have another great year.
If you're on the 5-yard line and you have Lamar Jackson handing the ball off to Derrick Henry, what do you do as a defense? Pray they trip?
I was going on and on about them. Let's go with the Bengals just because of how good. I know they're in a really good division, and it's going to be hard to win 6 of their divisional games, but Joe Burrow's back.
We've got 3 wildcard spots, and the first one I'm giving to the Houston Texans because I think they're going to be right there all year. I think they're such a good team. That receiving core is the best receiving core in the league. 2 more wildcard spots.
I think I'm going to have to give the nod to the Dolphins.
My hot take for the year, Odell Beckham Jr. goes nuts in Miami and is a top 30 wide receiver in fantasy.
At number 6, of course, it's the Buffalo Bills. There's a lot of good teams in the AFC, and it's a very top-heavy division. The Bills are going to be there.
Josh Allen's just such a good quarterback. He's a unicorn when it comes to the way that he runs the ball along with passes the ball. He's really hard to stop no matter who he has.
I think it's going to take some time, but by the end of the season, the Bills will be back to being a powerhouse.
The Cincinnati Bengals are going to take one of them. Joe Burrow back healthy. T. Higgins back under contract for this year. The band is back together, and they've got a Canadian potentially leading the way in the running game in Chase Brown.
Number 6, this is where I get a surprise. Every single year there's a team that didn't make the playoffs last year that comes out and makes it the next year. Indianapolis Colts. Anthony Richardson in year 2. We finally get to see him fully healthy, hopefully for a full season. One of the most dynamic athletes in the NFL with the arm strength, with the mobility. I'm really, really excited to watch this young team operate under Shane Steichen.
Number 7,
Can I just pick 6?
I don't really want to put the Chargers at 7 because I don't want to be a homer. I might be the only person who's going to do this, but let's take the Jets at 7.
The Jets have a great defense. At the end of the day, if Aaron Rodgers can just stay alive for more than 4 plays, they should be pretty good.
They're so talented in every other way.
Aaron Rodgers is back. Everybody forgets that he is a back-to-back MVP winner.
Who's the 7th team that really belongs there? And I'd say it was the Cleveland Browns. If they were able to do it last year, squeak into playoffs on the back of their defense, I think they can do it again this year.
My big surprise here, there's always some weird team that ends up in the playoffs. And for me this year, I think it's going to be the Tennessee Titans. L'Jarius Sneed went to the Titans. Calvin Ridley went to the Titans. Tyler Boyd went to the Titans. J.C. Latham in the first round. They're giving Levis absolutely everything he needs to try to succeed in year 2. I think he can put up a 4,000-yard season and help take this team to the 7th seed.
And last but not least, Josh Allen is just way too good to not be playing in the playoffs. He's just a one-man wrecking crew. And I don't look forward to watching the Bills destroy the Miami Dolphins in Buffalo this year. There's the AFC. On to the NFC now.
Let's be boring. Do you need me to talk about them? They're freaking good. They're good.
The 49ers are just the class of the NFC. They're going to come out on top again.
And if you don't have them at number 1, you're kind of crazy.
The number 1 seed in the NFC this year. Call me crazy. I'm going to give it to the Green Bay Packers. Jordan Love's back half of the season is as good as it's going to get when it comes to quarterback play in the NFL, and he did it against a lot of good playoff teams too. It just feels like the Packers' year.
I know there's a lot of optimism over Green Bay, but I feel like I have to pump the brakes on my own bias. So I'm going to give the number 1 seed to the Lions still. They're the most proven force, I think, in the NFC. I know there's the 49ers, but the Lions, the hype train is real.
Ben Johnson being back as the offensive coordinator is amazing, and I think that there's really a lot of unfinished business there that Detroit is going to be pedal to the metal all season long. Second seed. Not much to say here. The San Francisco 49ers are going to be really good again.
It's the boring pick, but nothing has changed for the 49ers. It's the same old thing. Shanahan's running the ship. The offense is going to be good.
They just become this model of consistency, and I think the Kyle Shanahan offense, it just works so well. Brock Purdy's proven himself as one of the best guys who can just operate an efficient system in the NFL.
Regardless of what you think of Brock Purdy, he proved himself to lead this team to a Super Bowl. He's only going to get better, to be honest.
But can they make it to the Super Bowl again, and can they finally get over the hump that they need to make this window worthwhile?
Number 2, this one's actually fun. I think the Pack's back.
I really like the Lions. I think that they're a super fun team. I've got a lot of Lions fans as friends, and I just think it would be so sweet if they could win the division. But I think that Green Bay is going to win the division.
If you're like an NFL fan and you're looking at the model of consistency, just hope your team is as rude to their rookie first-round picks as the Packers are to theirs. Because clearly it works. Just be like, yeah, we're going to draft you. You're going to sit and do nothing for 3 years, and then you're going to be elite.
Number 2, I'll take the Eagles. People are going to always count out the Eagles. Hard to count them out.
At number 3,
Do I want to go with the Cowboys again? Like, no one ever repeats the NFC East, but I don't know. I'm going to say Dallas wins it.
Eagles fans are going to be kind of upset about this one. Cowboys are just the more complete team to me.
they balled out last year. The Prescott to Lamb connection is absolutely electric. I don't see a reason why they can't win the East this year again.
When Dallas is playing at full strength, they're one of the most loaded rosters in the NFL. I know it doesn't translate in the playoffs. So Cowboys fans, be ready for some more hope for an entire regular season and more playoff heartbreak.
Number 3 seed. I'm going with the Atlanta Falcons here. And this is a team I think we were all high on last year to make some noise because of the offense. Bijan, Kyle Pitts, Drake London. Problem was the quarterback. This year, they've got a quarterback.
I feel like I just have a bad taste in my mouth from the Falcons last year, but it's like an entirely new team, new coaching staff, new quarterback. So I think that they are definitely going to win the division.
People are going to be all over Jordan Love. I'm going to have to go with them because of how good they were down the stretch last year.
Who the hell do you take from the NFC South with confidence and say you're going to be a home playoff team?
The popular pick to win the South is, of course, the Atlanta Falcons.
Their division kind of stinks, and of their stinky division, they're the best. So I'm going to go with them.
New coach that's actually going to use Bijan should be fun to watch.
But if he can make Drake London the star wide receiver that we think he can be, if he can turn Kyle Pitts into a consistent tight end, there's a lot to like about the Falcons team.
This is definitely going to be the NFC South slot, and I feel like everyone's going to be picking the Atlanta Falcons because they've got a lot of promise. I like the Kirk Cousins signing, but I got to shout out one team that I feel like not a lot of people are talking about, and that's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Because what Baker Mayfield did last year, I don't think can go unnoticed, and he was rewarded this offseason with a new contract. I just don't think it's going to be as easy as many people think for the Falcons to just walk into a division title.
Fourth one, going with the Philadelphia Eagles here. I don't trust the Dallas Cowboys. The vibes are so bad in Dallas right now that I can't pick them to win the division.
You knew it was going to be between these two teams. In the end, I don't know what's going on with Dallas. Maybe they make the wild card, but for now, I'm putting the Eagles in as the division winners. Adding Saquon Barkley is huge.
Now the wild cards, and this is going to be fun. This was a team that me and Pac were right about last year.
I think Green Bay can realistically compete for the crown in the NFC North. I think a lot of people do. We all saw Jordan Love's growth, and more importantly, I think we saw the offense grow together last year. It wasn't just Jordan Love.
That receiver room, the youngest skill position group of all time to make the playoffs, they're only going to get even better.
But I think the biggest thing for the Packers now is they have a new defensive coordinator who has preached aggressiveness who has preached attacking the football. I think the defense is going to be the biggest thing to push this Packer team to maybe an even deeper playoff run than they had last year.
I finally get to put the Lions on here. I honestly think that the Lions are my favorite team in the NFC. They're just so fun to watch. Love Dan Campbell.
Realistically, on paper, the Lions probably should be here and the Packers should be here. I just like the Packers more.
Under Dan Campbell, this is a team that has just built of 53 guys that want to run through a brick wall, and they got a lot of talent too.
It's really nice to see the organization finally thriving. A fan base that's been tortured for so long finally gets their flowers, and who knows, maybe they can make some noise in playoffs, maybe make a Super Bowl, something that they almost did last year.
Let's go, Vikings at 5. They're going to be good because they have the best wide receiver in the league. TJ Hawkinson, once he comes back, is going to be great.
The next wild card team.
I like the Rams. Matt Stafford, top 10 quarterback in the NFL.
Rams looked great last year. Sean McVay is one of the best coaches in the league. We all know this.
Matthew Stafford is an elite quarterback, and I think that's the theme with every team you see here. They don't have any quarterback questions, so I'm playing it a lot safer this year with my picks. Going with the trusted commodities. That offense is a trusted commodity.
The number 6, I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. They have just been too good and too talented of a roster. I also like the offseason moves that they've made on both sides of the ball.
It was a massive concern the way they closed out last season. Their playoff game was a disaster to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The offense kind of fell off a cliff.
I'm confident in Jalen Hurts that he's able to bounce back, and I do think he's a bit of an underrated quarterback.
The Cowboys always seem to disappoint, but they also always seem to make playoffs. I don't think they're going to win the division, but I think they're going to slot into the wild card and probably lose in the wild card round.
All right, 7th seed, final seed in the NFC.
This is where I want to take a risk.
It's not going to be the Cowboys. I'm going to put them there, and they're going to sneak their way in with their rookie quarterback, the Chicago Bears.
The Chicago Bears are so talented.
Bears fans have had a really, really tough, maybe 50 years in a row of, especially from the quarterback position. And I do think Caleb Williams is going to immediately come in and change that. The weapons that he has are just way too good.
They have one of the best secondaries in football, and if you haven't watched the Chicago Bears, you should, because that is not an overstatement. Jalen Johnson is a dog out there, and this secondary has got a bunch of dogs.
I mean, the Bears have been a terrible franchise for a long time, but it does seem like they're finally getting things right. And in year 1 with Caleb, I think they can squeak into the playoffs.
Mike McDonald, former Ravens DC. Ravens had the best defense in the league last year. Seahawks will have a solid D this year.
In the end, I think I'm going with the LA Rams. Man, I love Matthew Stafford. And there you have it, the perfectly correct and accurate picture.
That leads us to our Super Bowl champion. Bills, nah. Lions, nah. Chiefs, nah.
This is the easiest question of the day. I will pick them every single year until Patrick Mahomes retires.
I always feel boring picking the same team that everybody thinks it's going to be, but how can you not? I feel like they're going to go on a dynasty run the same way we saw the Patriots were going on in the early and late 2010s.
Listen, I grew up watching Tom Brady, and every single year I bet against him. I said, this is going to be the year that he's not good anymore. This is going to be the year that the Patriots miss the playoffs. This is going to be that the Dolphins win the division. Guess what? It never happened. I've learned my lesson, and when you have a generational talent at quarterback, you just pick them every single year until you're proved wrong. And I'm still waiting to be proven wrong.
49ers, nah.
I think that the San Francisco 49ers, their window has been closing and closing and closing, but I think it's just ajar enough that they can squeeze a Lombardi trophy out of it.
Bam.
I didn't do it last year. This isn't a homer pick. This is math. The Ravens won the Super Bowl in 2001. 12 years later, 2013, Ravens win the Super Bowl. 12 years later, 2025, the Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl after losing the AFC Championship the year prior because Zay Flowers fumbled through the end zone, and we're not going to talk about that one either. It's just simple math, people. That's all it takes.
Obviously, we know Lamar is an MVP. We know he's got a lot of great weapons. The defense is what this team runs through, and I think it'll be enough this year to get them that Super Bowl victory they've been looking for.
Lamar Jackson is my favorite quarterback, I think, in the NFL to watch. And I just want him to add even more hardware to his trophy case to silence all of these Lamar haters and doubters.
Award winners. I think these are always very tough to predict.
With the Bengals sitting at the top of the AFC, I think it's because Joe Burrow has himself a year. Joe Burrow wins football games. He won the national championship. He's been to the AFC championship in his only 2 healthy seasons, and to a Super Bowl one of those times. He wins games, he gets it done.
Everyone remembers him from what he did last year, but before that, man, this guy is the most accurate passer in the NFL. And I don't think that's talked about enough going into this season when he's fully healthy. He's going to be an absolute force.
I have this man like basically carrying his team to the 3 seed by himself. I actually think he's going to carry his team all the way through to the AFC Championship to lose to the Ravens.
If he leads this version of the Bills offense to one of those top 2 seeds with the numbers he had last year, which I think he can improve on, it's an MVP in my books.
In a wide open NFC, give me a young quarterback like Jordan Love to be good enough to march his team to a 1 seed. He's very, very talented. He's often compared to one Patrick Mahomes. The path is open for him to capture his first ever MVP award.
I always say that in sports, athletes have their window where they just dominate. And right now, this guy is in the prime of his career, coming off an MVP award. The Ravens are going to be amazing. So my MVP pick is going to be Lamar Jackson.
Offensive Player of the Year. I feel like Bijan Robinson has just escaped the prison that Arthur Smith put him in, and now he can really show the league who he is as a player.
There's a lot of great wide receivers in the NFL. Amon-Ra doesn't quite get his flowers yet. I think this year we start talking about him as possibly the best in the NFL.
All right, he did not win it last year. Tyreek Hill, he was voted the #1 player in football by his peers. I think he'll be back on 2,000-yard pace this year.
That was a sick catch right upside too. He got injured last year, still crossed 1,000 yards. I think if he stays healthy this year, I don't care if Luka Celebre is throwing him the ball. This guy's getting 2,000 yards this year.
This guy was unbelievable last year, and I think he's going to do just the same this year. He's in the right system. He's a fantastic athlete, Christian McCaffrey.
I know 2 quarterbacks winning MVP and Offensive Player of the Year. Probably unlikely, probably has never happened. I didn't actually look it up. I'm picking Anthony Richardson to win Offensive Player of the Year because I think his numbers are going to be so good, they are going to warrant him an award.
To the defensive side of the ball,
Picked him last year. I'm picking him again, and I'm going to pick him next year, and the year after that, and the year after that, until he wins this frickin' award because he's too goddamn talented to not pick him.
I know I don't have the Browns in the playoff picture. They could definitely be there somewhere, but this guy's been dominant. I think he's going to do it again. Myles Garrett.
give me Roquan Smith, who I think is the best linebacker in the NFL. The Ravens defense changed so much after they traded for this guy, and I think he's going to have another big season next year.
So we looked it up. 2019, the last time a defensive back won Defensive Player of the Year was Stephon Gilmore with the Patriots. Kyle Hamilton is going to join those ranks. This guy does it all, and if he has a season where you're talking maybe like, let's say 6 interceptions, 2 defensive touchdowns, 3 forced fumbles, 5 sacks, 80 tackles, maybe 20 passes defended. That's a guy that's doing everything. That's a guy that should win Defensive Player of the Year.
Aiden Hutchinson of the Detroit Lions. I think that he breaks out and becomes one of the elite pass rushers in the league.
Max Crosby. I mean, this guy is absolutely everywhere on the football field. And if you watch a Raiders game, sometimes there's not a lot to cheer about, but one thing is just watching this guy chase down even the small outside running plays is absolutely ridiculous. He had 14.5 sacks last year. I think he can get to that 18 sack mark. And finally, the Rookie of the Year. Obviously, there's a lot of rookie quarterbacks who are going to be favored to get this.
Everyone's going to say Cam. I'm going to go a little different, and I'm going to say Jaden Daniels. Caleb might have better passing stats. I think Jaden Daniels, what he provides as a runner, is going to keep him in this Offensive Rookie of the Year race until the very end.
I had the Bears going to the playoffs, so naturally, give me Caleb Williams.
This man is going into probably the best situation we've ever seen a first overall pick go into.
He was amazing in college. Everybody was touting him to be the next Patrick Mahomes, and I think he's not going to be there in his rookie season, but he will definitely get there in his career, and this year is a big step for him. So
The talent is there, but more importantly, I don't think there's a quarterback who has come into a better situation as a #1 overall pick in NFL history. And I think if he doesn't win Rookie of the Year, it's a complete failure with the amount of talent they have in Chicago right now.
I think that Marvin Harrison is coming into a situation where he has a quarterback that has shown he can support a #1 receiver, an alpha.
But to me, one person who I think is going to have a massive comeback year is Kyler Murray, and a lot of that is because he finally has an elite wide receiver again.
I don't think that Caleb Williams gets it. I definitely don't think that Jaden Daniels gets it. I think that they're going to have tough seasons, whereas Marvin Harrison, I think he's going to show everybody who's the boss.
And this is my season prediction. It should be pretty much exactly perfect, except except for the Bengals won't be the 1 seed, the Ravens will, and then they're going to win the Super Bowl, and everything's going to be happy. Thank you for coming for my TED Talk.